Okay, it's 3 o'clock. I know everybody's going to start trickling in as we go, but to get the party started, my name is Isatu. I'm the Philanthropy Associate here at Tea and Food Allergy Institute. I, along with Beth and the volunteers like Serena today, help host these events every single month. And today we're going to give you a nice little talk on what it is that Beth and Serena wish they could have known before or during the program. And Beth and Serena, I'll let you guys take it away.
Hi. So I'm Beth, and I'm just going to give a quick overview of myself, and then I'll let Serena do the same thing. So I have a now 19-year-old daughter who is a first-year college student, and she started the program when she was 15. She hit remission when she was 17, and she's been in remission ever since. Her anaphylactic allergens were cashews and pistachios, and there was a number of other allergens that were treated in the sensitive column for her. So those were what we went through when we were in the program, and we travel from Wisconsin, just so people know too, as far as if they have questions about travel, that's me.
My name's Serena Riza. My daughter Vera is 4 years old and she's currently in the program today. We've been in the program for about a year and a half, and we fly from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Long Beach, California for the program. So happy to touch on any travel questions as well. But for us, Vera was anaphylactic to sesame, eggs, and mustard, and also pretty severely allergic to tree nuts. They were also somewhat on the right side of her column. So, along with wheat and dairy as well, we are also treating. So, a whole bunch of allergens, and I look forward to answering any questions you have.
Thank you. Thank you both for sharing. So now I'm going to get started with the presentation. Just a short presentation.
I'm happy to obviously take this one. This is my slide. And so what I put together here is just what I wish I knew going into the TIP program is it's all perspective, right? And I wish I had more people to walk me through that stage. So I'm so excited to have the opportunity to do that to other families today. Because prior to the program, or what I wish I knew going into it, is just that you will start higher anaphylactic allergens early. It may feel too early, but you have to trust the process, right? The data is there to support it. And you just have to feel fully trust and embrace that process, and also encourage your kiddo to trust that process too. I felt like Sesame came up, and I still can't even think about it without crying or being so emotional. And it's just crazy to think of where she is today, even past the 3 mg gummy there. And I mean, now we're at 15 mg, and it was just a few weeks ago versus her last exposure to sesame prior to being in the program was an EpiPen. So trust the process. And then secondly, there will be so many ups and downs for both you and your child and any other family members too. It has surprised us along the way of how high the highs are and how low the lows are, right? But I can promise you that the best part about it has been recording and kind of watching that progress along the way, because at the lowest of lows, when we felt like we couldn't take maintenance anymore, the next high is a video of me crying my eyes out while my husband's in California with Vera, knowing that her maintenance went down. So, and look, you get emotional even talking about it, right? Like you have to just soak in the highs and let your kids do the same, right? We have days where we talk about it with Vera to just say, you know what, it is a hard day. This is very, very hard. And it's okay to feel upset that, yeah, just walk her through it, just like you need that same, and embrace those high moments. And then lastly, daily maintenance can definitely feel overwhelming at times. The load will lighten at some point and then it comes back around again. But you just have to keep your eye on the prize, right? Like food freedom is in the future and you have to stick with it. And it's really normal for both you and your child to just really despise it at times. For us, we found that the biggest impact is just doing positive reinforcements. And that might not be in a form of a gift or a reward. It's making it a positive experience to cook alongside of each other, make videos, make fun of making this morning maintenance donut so she feels special. And also our other daughter eats it with her. She does not have any of the allergens, so it's a safe donut for her. But the way we look at it is she might be getting a lot of sugar every morning, but she's also not eating a lot of really bad things. She's filling up on nuts and seeds and really nutritious things that are helping her body. So no amount of sugar counts during tip. It would be my fourth one if I put it up there. So, well, thank you for giving me the safe space to share today too, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Yes, so her higher allergens would be later on in the program. What I meant by that, to clarify too, is just it comes up so much quicker than I anticipated. Like I never expected we still have about a year into the program. I just never expected to treat sesame already, like start that process already, given that it was such a traumatic experience the last time she had it. It came up so quickly, and I couldn't believe we were already at this moment. As opposed to going into the program, I truly thought starting it at 2.5, 3-ish, I thought we would be in there I thought this was just a forever thing. Like that's the best way I could put it. It just never felt like it would have an end. So it came a lot quicker than I thought.
Okay, so I wanted to share a couple tips that I learned along the way. One of it is that organization was so important for us when we were in the program. I would come home from our visits and I would have those discharge papers in front of me, and I would sit down at my computer, make a calendar for the next cycle so that I knew exactly what she had to eat every day. And then I would go ahead and prep some of those foods. Some of them, you can't necessarily prep ahead of time, some you can. And so I shared a picture of one of her maintenance that I kind of would prep together, and I would label all the containers. And that's kind of what we use now, even for her remission with the maintenance foods that she still has in remission. I use blue tape to just put on the container to with what date she needs to eat those items. And there's more things than what fit in the little containers some days, but not every day. So I'll kind of write on the label too, like this plus the cookie that you need to eat. So we keep it organized, and I think that helps both of us, especially now that she's away at college. She has to take over more of that herself, but we did make all of her maintenance foods together and prep all those doses before she left, and it'll get her through Thanksgiving. So when she comes home next week for Thanksgiving, we will be re-prepping all of her maintenance foods to last her through until she comes home for Christmas break. So again, organization was a big deal for me, and that's just how I kind of kept my sanity sometimes when it felt overwhelming with all the food I needed to prep and the things I needed to do. And then this kind of also mimics what Serena said, that there will be times when it's scary to think about what you're doing and what you're feeding your child. And we would always try not to overthink it and just take it one day, one dose at a time, and to trust the program. Again, like Serena said, I did put in here a picture of my gummies, which I used to hold it up to the light because you can see the little specks of I don't remember if that was cashews or pistachios at the time, but I remember holding it up to the light and I just couldn't. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to give those to her. And again, like Serena said, it did come way faster. My daughter, I think it was like the second or third visit that we started her anaphylactic allergens already, which I was not really ready for, but I think it was obviously, I just had to trust the program that this was the right thing to do. But it is scary. And I think we want to acknowledge that there are times that it kind of hits you again, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to the store and buying a ton of cashews and pistachios, and this would have brought us to the hospital before. So that's just something that I learned along the way, just to try to take a deep breath, take it one sip at a time, and one day at a time, and one dose at a time. The last tip that I have here is that, so my daughter who is in the program is the oldest of 4 kids. We have 4 kids. She's the only one with food allergies. My kids are a little older. They're not itty bitty, since she's the oldest of them all. And I would ask them to help prep food sometimes. Now, no, I didn't have them measure the dosing and that kind of stuff, but I would have them help me chop nuts, or we used to make a maintenance muffin for her in the morning with some of her nuts mixed in, and they would help me kind of mix the nuts into each individual muffin. And it was just a way for them to kind of be more involved because, again, from their perspectives, they're thinking, well, mom and her get to go out to California all the time and they do some fun things while they're there. And yes, she has to eat all this food, but they get one-on-one time with mom every time she goes to California. So it was a way that I could kind of pull the other kids in with me so that they had some ownership of what we were doing because it does affect the whole family. It doesn't just affect the parents and the child that's going through the treatment. And so that was something that I tried to do along the way. And we also, tried to have some celebrations with the whole family as we were kind of going through the program too, so that they did feel a little bit more included in what was happening. And then the other picture I have is one of the pictures in my pantry of all the nuts. I mean, I would go to Trader Joe's and just get this ginormous basket full of nuts. And then I would kind of have them organized in my pantry so that it was easier for me when I would prep foods. And I still have to have nuts because she still does maintenance foods, but I don't go through it near as fast as I used to, just because, she doesn't have to do her maintenance as often anymore. So those are some of the tips that I learned along the way, and hopefully they'll help you all too. I think you can go to the next slide, Isa, too.
Thank you so much both for sharing. This is just a slide that we're going to leave up this, our news and resources tab. So if you're looking for tip resources, our marketing team actually created a really amazing tip resources page where you could go in and ask questions, and all the questions that patients have asked throughout the years have all been organized and basically placed into one place. So if you have any questions, you're looking for a rapid answer, that's a great place. Also, December 8th, we're hosting a fun little event, allergy-friendly event for kids in the program. So that's hosted on December 8th in Lake Forest. So if you're around and you want to come and have fun and celebrate post-holiday or post-Thanksgiving, please feel free to join us. And then lastly, a big news and something that we've been working on for the last few years is the maintenance bars and the tarts. So if you haven't already heard or been able to try it, a lot of our remission patients actually have been able to try it at one of our remission events. And these are our bars that you're able to try, and basically they help you with your dosing. So those are some fun things that are coming up later on in the future. And now we can go into the questions.
Okay, so we're going to start answering some of the questions that are in the chat. If you have more questions, feel free to keep them in the chat. Otherwise, you can always unmute yourself and ask the question directly as well. Either works fine, whatever works better for you. So I will just start reading some of the questions, and then Serena and I can answer as we go through. The first question is, can you explain the food prep or gummy making process more? So the clinic makes the gummies. And when you leave from your visit, if you have gummies in your plan, you will get a bag with all of them labeled. It will tell you exactly what the allergen is that's in that gummy, and it will tell you the amount, because your amount will change depending on what week you are in your dosing cycle. And that, again, is all in the magic papers of the discharge papers. I cannot stress enough how much I would look at those papers throughout the time at home in that cycle. So the gummies are super easy for you as far as prep goes because they're in your fridge. You literally take them out when it's time to do your treatment dose, and you open up the bag, you give the gummy to your child, and that's all you have to do for those kinds of things. For the food prep, it really just depends what you're prepping. For us, we had a lot of nuts and flour. And so we would I did a lot of chopping of nuts, a lot of grinding of nuts. And then I would have like a container, let's say for cashews, and I would chop a whole bunch up, keep it in the container. I'd label the container. And then we would be able to kind of use that container to dose what she needed to, whatever her dosing amount was at the time, we could do that. And then she would mix it into her yogurt or whatever she would kind of use with the nuts. And that's kind of how we structured it. So I would prep a whole bunch of the nuts that I knew she needed ground up. And then once you get a little bit bigger doses, you don't always grind the nuts up anymore. So even now with her in remission, there's certain nuts that she will eat just by themselves. And there's other nuts that she prefers She doesn't like the flavor, so she still has what's in those little containers are the ground up nuts that she prefers to just mix into her yogurt in the morning, and that's how she takes her food. Serena,
Hi, hi. Sorry. Thank you for that information. That's super helpful. But I was not given the direction about storing the gummies in the fridge. The gummies are stored just in a bin in a dry place. Do the gummies need to be refrigerated? Because I'm not refrigerating the gummies.
so maybe this has changed actually. When we were in treatment, the gummies did need to be in the fridge. I said, do you know
Well,
if
that's,
it's
yeah,
changed?
we
I
definitely,
believe I believe the process might have changed a bit to the point that they don't need to be refrigerated. But Eli, I hope I'm Ellie or Eli, I
yeah.
hope I'm pronouncing that. I will confirm with the food lab just to give you a better answer.
Yeah, because what I did find is when I arrived at home with the gummies, I found that they were harder. But now that they're stored in a bin in a dry place, not near heat, I find they're a little bit more, they're softer and they look a little bit chewier. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping with a big, great bin of gummies I have that they're still good. And so if you can get back to me on that, I would really appreciate it.
I will.
I do
Thank
not
you.
I do not store my fridge for what it's worth. So if that gives you any comfort, but if you can check on the official answer, that would be
Mhm.
great.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So sorry, I'm a newish parent to this, and I was definitely told I did not need to refrigerate them. Um, but I will say the past two cycles, we did have an issue with the gummies melting. So I have been refrigerating them, but I know you do not have to do it. They specifically told me that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
That's comforting.
Yeah, and again, I think, things change, right? When I know that I do remember that they had kind of a switch over on their gummies, and I know when I was in the program, we did have to keep them refrigerated. So thank you. The next question I'm going to go to is, I would love to know how to best store the ground seeds and how long they keep. So I can answer what we did, and Serena can for sure answer what they did too. So, I don't think we really did many seeds that I can think of, but for all the foods we did, I ground them up, and I know some people will keep them in the fridge, some people will keep them in the freezer. I never did. I kept them in my pantry, even when they were ground up. You can definitely ask the provider or you can email through Tip Connect to get, for your specific seeds that you're using, depending on what those are, they might have different answers for it. I'm not sure if Serena has treated other seeds, but you can always email the Tip Connect and they can answer, specifically whatever seeds that are in your child's treatment.
We do have quite a few seeds in ours, and I will say that I had that same concern about how long can it keep. And what we did notice was, especially for poppy, you have to make sure it's you really are grinding it up in order for you to get the full effects of that seed. And what we found was we buy a lot of glass mason jars and then label them what is in the mason jar and either put it in the fridge or the freezer. But we are cycling through them pretty fast at this point. Like we only buy the 4 ounce or 6 ounce jars. They're not huge. And we like that because, I mean, like I said, like we're going through a pretty large quantity. So when I thought it would stay in the freezer, I was pleasantly surprised with how quickly I was going through it and buying it again, if that gives you any hope. Um, but I think just labeling it and asking the provider for your specific nuts is also a great follow-up, just to be sure.
Okay, the next question is, can you elaborate more on what is hard? Is it the prep to the foods or the fear of the
Sorry.
food or reactions along the way? So I would say it kind of ebbs and flows for us when we were in the program. There was times when I would do the food prep for the next cycle or for the next week or two. It just depended where we were in, how many foods and things like that she had. And it does take time. And I also think that there is a fear of eating the food, right? I mean, for my daughter, we had avoided her allergens for over 10 years by the time she started the program. It's not an easy jump to all of a sudden know that I'm giving her the things that I have taught her so long to avoid, and all the advocating I did with school and coaches and activities and all those things. And to, now all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, we're going to give you these cashews and pistachios and it's totally fine. And so I think it was kind of both for us. It is sometimes hard with all the prepping of the food because it does take time, and it is also, there is, I think, a real fear sometimes, especially if your kid is older and knows what they're eating, that can also play a role in the treatment foods too. Serena, do you have anything to add?
I'd say ditto that for sure, especially as our
Sorry.
daughter. Go ahead. Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to go back to the seeds and crushing the seeds.
Sure.
When I ground the poppy seed, I find that it comes out really clumpy. Is that your experience as well? Because if I'm measuring a quarter teaspoon of poppy seed, it's got so much clumps that I'm afraid I'm not measuring properly. And are you experiencing that? And if not, do you have a trick that you can teach me how to grind these properly?
Yes. We use whatever the brand is on the paperwork, and I will also say that's like your Bible, right? Beth mentioned that whenever you're leaving, or your North Star, your guide, as soon as you're leaving, that paper is never leaving you. And I would say make sure you're ordering the right one before you leave the rest of the appointment, because we've waited on some of those seeds and from Amazon, from Food to Live or whatever as well. But we use the mortar and pestle, is that what it's called? Where you're really grinding it up. We did that for Poppy for a pretty long time and just did it one by one. We did try the Nutra or the Ninja Chop, but with poppy seeds, they're pretty small, so it was pretty hard to do. So we just found that doing it by hand was the most consistent way. But yeah, I think if you have if that's happening too, I'm sure you could send a video in to the providers and ask them just to give you peace of mind. For us, poppy's an exposure allergen, so it wasn't one that I had. It moved into maintenance pretty quickly, and it was uncapped for us, so I didn't have a huge worry or concern, as opposed to like right now I'm measuring out wheat germ and I have to prep that tonight, and it will be top of mind for me to make sure it is perfect, and I know she'll be okay regardless. But is that helpful?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Beth and Serena, following up on the my previous question there, we're considering doing the program. My daughter just graduated from college, 22. She's a working professional job. And I talked to a friend of mine whose daughter has successfully gone through. She's in high school, and they said there's some hard times. Is the hard time if you're 22 and you were going through this, and she first we diagnosed her like 15 years ago. Not now, she's been dealing with it a long time. Is it just the lifestyle that's hard getting used to, and she's very compliant on what she does, preparing her own food, or is it when you eat the food, it's difficult and you have bodily reactions, to it? Like, is it the lifestyle, or is it the impact on the body that kind of is the challenge?
No, thank you for the clarification. So my daughter went through the program and she did not have, she really had a smooth sailing. She had one tiny small stomach ache one time towards the beginning of the program, but other than that, it was smooth sailing. So there wasn't that aspect of it when she was eating. I would say the hard part is that most of your day revolves around your maintenance foods, your treatment foods, and your recommended foods while you're in the program. Plus, if you have SLIT, that's also an additional thing. So is it manageable? Yes. Many of us do it all the time, and you get into your routine and it's okay. But there was definitely days when my 15, 16, 17-year-old would say, gosh, Mom, I really just want to eat something else for breakfast. But the only thing she could eat for breakfast was all of her maintenance foods. And yes, it's for a short time and, that kind of stuff. But I think that's what I mean by it's hard. It's hard on the kids because food is a big part of their everyday lives while they're in the program. They don't have the options sometimes to eat whatever they want, right? Because they can only eat so much. So when you have this much maintenance foods and this much treatment foods and all your recommended foods, sprinkled in between, there isn't always necessarily a lot of room for other foods. Don't get me wrong. My daughter ate normal for lunch. Her breakfast was mostly maintenance foods. It was only maintenance foods. Her lunch was some of her recommended foods and whatever else she wanted. And she would eat a dinner with us, but then she also did the treatment foods around dinner time too. So there just isn't, and then, there just isn't as much flexibility. And I think that's hard sometimes for the kids to have to go through that. Does that make more sense?
Yeah. So, if you were in a professional environment, you're going to a business dinner, let's just say, you may have your maintenance food or the appropriate thing at night. You would eat that, but then you wouldn't be restricted. You could still go to dinner and have a steak or a lobster or whatever else you would eat. The question is just, can your body eat, can you put that much food in your body, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes. And in the evenings is when you do your treatment foods.
Right.
And there is other restrictions around the treatment foods. So there is a 1 hour rest time after you finish, and it depends on your cycle. Some people have one treatment food, some people will have two. It just depends where you are in your program. But you will have restrictions, like you'll eat your treatment food, then you have to wait 15 minutes. If you have another treatment food, you eat it after 15 minutes. And then let's say you only have two treatment foods, then your 1 hour rest period starts, where you're not supposed to get your heart rate up. You're not supposed to take a shower. You're not supposed to, go for a walk, exercise, do those kinds of things. It's supposed to be you're sitting. So you could be sitting at dinner during a rest period. But yes, so there are some restrictions, and but overall, it's not, it's really, there was just sometimes a lot of quantity of food. And that restricted what else you really wanted to eat, if that makes sense.
Got it. Okay. I think I understood. So it will get in the way of like socialization, like with your child is younger, or if you went through and you're older, like out of college, you may be bringing some food to dinner and just have to like accommodate, and you'll be a conversation piece at dinner, I'm sure. So understood.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I do. I mean, there was plenty of times that I would do the treatment food with my daughter in our car during a dance competition. When she had a couple hours in between certain dances that she was doing, we would do her treatment food in the car. There was definitely times we took her maintenance food to, activities and parties and that kind of stuff. So you do kind of weave it into your everyday life because it has to be, right? I mean, it was very obvious with my child that I said to her, you have to buy in with me. And we explained everything. Again, she was older, so I could have those conversations with her. And, we knew that this would be temporary and that there would be things that would maybe be restricted for, just time purposes. She might have to leave practice early or do stuff like that. But it was something that we knew would be short term.
I would love to add to that, Beth. Like, I think it's
Yes.
that your daughter was the age that she was in handling the program, and the kids are capable of so much going through this, whether they're 4, whether they're 19. They just have to, it's a communication thing, like being on the same page about talking through what the repercussions are too. Like we don't use it as a threat by any means, but our daughter is 4 and truly I mean, I say truly understands, right? But she can comprehend why she has to color for an hour, or why we pull out activities or pull out all the stops that night to get her to really have a movie night, or make sure she's not raising her heart rate. Does it get in the way of a social life? For her, she's 4. For us as parents, absolutely, because it's a lot of prep and maintenance that goes into preparing for any moment of your life that you are away and you're responsible for that tiny human who has to get that maintenance in. So for us, those hard moments come in when, we have to travel and somebody's watching our kids, and we have to remind them of the maintenance has to be eaten. Like this is not an option. And she knows that, but grandparent, you need to know that. Like everyone around us needs to know what treatment protocol is, because we have to, say, you can't run, you're in treatment. Those are the things that make the program hard, but it's I was just listening to a podcast right before this where somebody had Dr. Rondawi on, and they said it so perfectly. They said, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but the biggest reward. And it's okay to recognize how hard that work is. But you just have to be all in it together.
Perfectly said. Thank you.
I actually had
Go ahead.
one question come in by email. It was from a working mom, and she said she loves her job, but because her daughter, she's a teenager, she's in middle school, she constantly gets calls from her daughter. Sometimes it's about food allergies, other times it's not, but she never like fails picking up that phone, and she sees it taking a toll with her coworkers at work. So her question is, how would she manage that? Being at work, being a food allergy mom, always wanting to answer the phone, but seeing coworkers kind of give her the eye, and yeah.
Serena, do you want to start with that one?
Feel that one so hard because our daughter before Tip had lots of things going on, and it felt like every 2 seconds was a phone call from daycare picking her up or a test result or I'm in Pittsburgh. When the Food Allergy Institute calls, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's this constant battle and struggle. But what I always come back to is just that this is work will come and go regardless. We all need a job, but this is my focus right now that I have to clear. And the people around me, I am protected in what I share, but I don't let it get in the way. And when I say that, it is really hard being a working parent and knowing like tonight, I have to prep maintenance when she goes to bed. And I have to prep her next round of wheat germ, chocolate covered, whatever I'm going to make her this week. Um, it does get in the way, but I try to communicate with those around me as much as I can and just try to remember that this will be a season and I won't have those calls forever. And to me, there is nothing more rewarding than knowing that at the end of the day, like I won't have to worry that I'm getting a call about her allergic reaction or, yeah, I hope that helps.
Yes, and I do not work outside of the home with the 4 kids. I stopped working actually when my daughter was diagnosed with the food allergies. It was just too hard at the time to, again, that was a long time ago, and she was the first one in her school with a food allergy. Like I had a lot of work to do in order to keep her safe at school, and the person that was watching her while I worked was also going to be going back to school for something else. So I had to find a new daycare like my husband and I made the decision that it was just going to be better for me to stay home. So I think Serena helped answer that question beautifully.
Can I ask another question? Sorry.
That's okay.
Did your children, because they're only dosing at night, the gummies at night, did your children carry around the scenario kit when they went to school or when they left the house to go to a play day or whatever? Because like they're dosing at night, so they're getting that protein at night, but in the morning they're getting their maintenance foods, which is fine. But I'm really a little bit confused about the whole kit, because they're home when they're doing the gummies. So I'm confused. Do they still carry around that kit even though they're like say 2 hours past or 3 hours past after they ate the gummies and then they go to a friend's house? Because right now my son just carries his EpiPen. He's not carrying around the scenario kit because he goes to school and he has his maintenance foods and he's good. So can you tell me how you manage that?
Sure. So we did have her take her scenario kit. I know it's a little different with like a girl versus a boy because she had a purse and she grew up having a purse because from the time she was in first grade, she self-carried her EpiPens. So it's easier for her to, kind of always have that on her. So we did have her keep her scenario kit with her at all times with her EpiPens as well. Luckily, because she was older, she didn't have liquids. I know some of the younger kiddos have liquids in their scenario kits. Again, that's a perfect question to ask the clinic to say, does my child need to carry the scenario kit at all times? Now that she is in remission, we were told by the clinic for my daughter specifically that she just needs to carry the EpiPen around with her still. And she has a scenario kit that is kept like now in her dorm room. But it used to be kept at home as well. So she does not carry the scenario kit around anymore since she's in remission, but she still carries the EpiPens. And like I said, when she was in treatment, she still carried the scenario kit around with her. That is what we were told by the provider. So I think that you can also email or, call and see what is specific for your child. I don't know, Serena, if you carry the scenario kit with you as well, or if you don't.
So, sorry, I can also interject a little bit. So, I'm an ER doctor, and my daughter is about a year into the program, and she's allergic to a lot of things, egg, wheat. Yeah, you're trying to say hi, I know. Eggs, wheat, dairy, tree nuts, peanuts, sesame, and mustard. And so the scenario kit tells you, so it's the medications that they need if they're exposed to something, but it's not just for the treatment foods, it's for any possible accidental exposure if they're at school and they accidentally, are next to a kid with who's eating something and then they start to have a reaction. So it's for any time of day, and it's exactly the medications that we would give if you brought your child to the ER with anaphylaxis. So you're already getting those medications into your kid immediately, as opposed to whatever transport time it takes you to get to the ER. I've given it to my daughter before. She had anaphylaxis at home, and I'm really good about keeping her allergens. I don't know if it was the babysitter or something, but it was quite terrifying, and I'm glad once I can sleep. I'm really glad I had the entire kit at home. So I highly recommend like the child keeps the kit on them at all times while they're doing the treatment.
Thank you,
And so
Ariel.
in scenario 3, even though they take their antihistamine in the morning, but if they go into scenario 3, they still have to take, like, let's say, a Claritin along with a sublingual prednisolone and the EpiPen. So we
Yes.
repeat that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I think
Sorry,
it would
it's just,
be,
it's a
oh,
lot
that's
of
fine.
information, and it's sometimes it's just very confusing. Like, anyway, thank you. This really is very helpful.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. And
Thanks for
again, if you have
sharing.
other questions, you can always reach out to the clinic and ask them to re-go over that scenario kit with you, and they will be more than happy to do that. Or at your next visit, whatever kind of works for you. But for sure. Thank you. Another question that came in are, where are the small containers for daily food from? So I think what you're talking about is the ones that I had in my slides, and those are actually little Tupperwares. They're maybe 1 ounce or 2 ounces. They were just what I had at home. And it's funny because, yes, my daughter was 15 when we started the program, but I had all those little containers from when they were little. I always made my own baby food. And so that's what I used to use to put their baby food in. And that is then what I started to use when she was in the program, because that's what I had at home. I know that there's a lot of other little containers out there that you can use. I just chose to use what I already had, so I didn't have to buy something different. And they seal very well so that if it's tipped over, I'm not losing any of the measured out dosing.
I have a question for Beth.
Sure.
Sorry, I missed like the first 2 minutes, so sorry if you introduced yourself and mentioned this, but I know you said your daughter is in college now. Was she ever doing, I know she's in remission, but was she ever doing the program while in college?
So she reached remission when she was still in high school. But I
Okay.
do actually know that there is another child at the college that she goes to in Wisconsin that is in the program and is still in treatment. So it does happen that you're not done with it, and you're still in treatment in college. And again, there's good and bad, right? Like, they still have to do all their dosing and all that kind of stuff. But my daughter still has to do all her maintenance foods as well, even though she's in remission.
Right. Yeah. So we just started a few months ago, and so I have 2 boys in the program, and the older one is a senior in high school. So he will absolutely be doing this while he's in college. So I wasn't sure if you had any tips for when she went away.
Yeah, well, the good news is that he won't be newly in the program when he is in college. So he will have some time under his belt. My best advice that I can give you, granted, we didn't do treatment in college, but just from my experience, is over this past summer, because when she was in treatment, it really changed. Sometimes I would do a lot of the prep, sometimes she would. It just depended what she had going on, what season she was in for dance and track and all of her school and all that kind of stuff. But the summer before, so this past summer, I really, really, really made a point to have her do all of the food prep with me. Because when she was in high school, she was just so busy that she didn't always do that with me. So, and I slowly stepped back, like constantly asking her, did you do your maintenance food today? Did you follow your calendar? And really try to kind of pass the baton to her, so to speak, so
Right.
that um, come fall when I knew she wasn't going to be with me anymore. And don't get me wrong, I still text her sometimes to say, hey, how's the maintenance going? Are you still doing that? Are you doing some random cashews and pistachios at all this week? So I do still kind of check in, but it's not as much as when she was home and I was, kind of more managing it. So I would suggest if he is still going to be in the program or even in remission, that leading up to him leaving, just slowly try to push more of that management onto him so that he gets used to having to do that.
Right.
And like I said, we do kind of I do not have her prepping anything at school, but if she was in treatment, she may have to. So just keep that in mind when you're getting ready to send him to school. What is he going to need in order to do some food prep, possibly at school? And I don't, you have no idea how close or far. My daughter is over 3 hours away. So it's not like I can just, you know, quick drop some things off for her. It's a
Right.
7 hour round trip for me if I have to go take something to her. So that would be my best tip is just to try to kind of give him more ownership as you get closer so that you feel more confident that he understands what really has to be done instead of just here's your maintenance food for the day, here's your treatment food for the day, here's the recommended foods. Make him kind of do that more, if that makes sense.
And
Great.
Debbie, I think we have one mentor who does have a son in college while they're still in the program. If you would like, I can pair you with them. Or I
Great.
can give, yeah, and I'll give you the tip in college Facebook group. I think there's a Facebook group for support as well.
Oh, I think I might be on that one.
Okay, nice.
But I love the other information.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Great. Another question is I really struggle with the volume of the maintenance foods for my 3-year-old, and we're only a year in. Would appreciate any tips. So, as Serena kind of alluded to, is that once you get another round of labs, your maintenance foods will go back down. But I think if Serena wants to speak on this one, since she has a younger one in the program, that it might make more sense for you.
Yeah, sure. For us, it was really difficult because I think we were at like 17 different nuts or seeds in July, and we were just at like a breaking point, truly. We felt like it was not, and it's really hard to force. I mean, you don't like it's nobody, if you don't want to eat something and you're full, it's really hard to eat something. And obviously, it's not like we're gonna like force her really and truly. Like, we have to really delicately do this. So for us, the volume, we take our time throughout the day sometimes. Like, if we know that we make a maintenance sausage right now, and that's what she's pretty good with. But if we know that she's tapped out and she's not going to be able to eat it before we can get out the door to go to daycare, because we are two working parents who have jobs that have to start on time, and school wants her there, things like that, that it is hard to make it everywhere at once. We just really try to break it up. Like, even if I could just get a little bit of the chestnut flour on a piece of toast and a little bit of it somewhere else, she may not even know she's eating it at that point. Like, we don't even say or use the words maintenance in that case. She is just eating her piece of toast with nutritional cheese that she thinks she loves every day and chestnut flour's in it. You really find ways to get creative to hide things. Like, there was one morning she wouldn't eat them, and my husband made macaroni and cheese and stuffed it all a bunch in there hidden. And she would just thought it was really cool. She was eating macaroni and cheese for breakfast. So again, it's like your meals may be flipped upside down, and there is no amount of sugar that counts. Because if you can hide it and enjoy life chocolate chips, try it. But then eventually you'll get lab work. And we requested the lab work a cycle earlier in that case. But we were also extremely diligent. And I say that because I think it's very important. We didn't miss days in that cycle and hadn't for almost a year, that we were so confident in the fact that her body was producing where it needed to be. We did the recommended, we followed instructions to a T, that we just simply asked, hey, can she get tested this cycle? And they were at a point where it was comfortable with it. And that was our decision. But I don't know that that would be the case every single time or that you should recommend that. But we needed to get to a point where we cut it down in order for her to continue. And then it was relieved. And I can tell you it's been 2 cycles since then. And we're almost at the point now where it's like, holy crap, I can't believe we do this all the time. It is an amazing amount of food. You just have to get creative with how you hide it.
How long were both of your programs for, or predicted for, I guess, for Serena?
We are still in it. So they had said, I think when she started, maybe 3 years. And we're a year and a half in. So I think we still have another year left. It went quicker than we had anticipated. But again, I really think that that's also has to do with the amount that we are so diligent about it. Like we are extremely thorough with maintenance and treatment. I think that's been really helpful in how
you remember how many visits they suggested?
12 for us, but every cycle is different. Every treatment plan's different. So just because it's 12 appointments for us, that might be totally different for you because it takes
Oh, I
long.
know. We're 14, but I know some can be shorter cycles and all that. I was just kind of curious. Like it's interesting to hear how long it takes for certain families.
Yeah.
Yes, I can speak to it too. So, we had a very short treatment. We only had 9 visits. And that was, including the first one all the way to the very last, her graduation visit. So yeah, we got lucky with that, but I didn't ever really focus on, I never really asked how many years they thought it would take for me to get through that. I really just focused on the number of visits. And I just, of course, had like a spreadsheet that I would keep to try to estimate when we'd be done, just in the back of my head. But I knew that it was just one visit at a time. And eventually, all of a sudden, I was like, oh my gosh, we're already on visit 6. Like, I can't believe we've been out there 6 times already. So yeah, that's kind of our experience with that. Another question is if you were treating egg allergens and had to bring whole eggs to your appointment, how did you carry the whole eggs on the airplane? They are flying from, I'm guessing, Toronto and have to bring duck eggs. Did you do eggs, Serena?
I was actually I was about to comment back, so I wasn't sure if we would get in. But we did do duck eggs and now we're on hen egg now. And so duck egg can be hard to find. What we found to be helpful was going onto Instacart before the trip and I would search duck egg to see where I could find it close to the clinic. So I'm not sure what time your flight is and if you have flexibility when you get there to go get the duck egg from where the place has it in stock, but we have called before and asked them to put it aside so we know the day before that they are going to take it out that morning and put it aside in the refrigerated space or whatever, to make sure that we can pick it up in time. So that has worked really well for us, and I hope that that helps you. I'm sure if Instacart has delivery options and you could time it right, you could probably get it delivered when you get there.
Thank you. And we did not do eggs, so I think that was really good. Thank you. Another question is we have our launch appointment in January. My daughter has an extreme peanut allergy. Did your children have a food challenge of a high allergen at the launch appointment? Trying to figure out if we can travel on the final day of the launch after the final day 5 food challenge. So if I remember back to then, well, we always flew home the day of her last appointment. We were just trying to save money wherever we could, and one less night of a car rental and one less night of a hotel room was always what we did. However, my daughter was older. I'm not sure how old your child is. So we would always do the very first appointments in the morning, and we would try to get a really late flight that night. So we would typically fly out Long Beach at like 4:30, and we wouldn't get home until like 1 in the morning. But I wanted to leave as big of a space between her appointment and when we would fly. The clinic does recommend, at least they did when I was in treatment, at least 4 hours that you don't fly after your appointment. And so we always left more time than that, just to be safe. But yes, I mean, there was times that she would food challenge her anaphylactic foods and we would still fly that evening. But again, I left as much time as I could. And if I had a younger child, I wouldn't have done that because there's no way that I would want to fly that late at night with a child. But a teenager's up anyway, so it worked.
A toddler might be up anyway, too, contrary to belief. It works for us too.
Good. Another question is, can all whole chopped nuts and seeds be refrigerated without affecting the proteins? So, for us, I never refrigerated the nuts. I know that there's other volunteers in the program that have refrigerated their nuts, have frozen their nuts. I think that's a great question to ask the clinic because they are the ones that know the foods inside and out. I can only tell you from my experience, I always kept the nuts in the pantry and it was fine. But I do know other people that kept them in the fridge and kept them frozen. I'm not sure what your experience is, Serena.
I would say for our specific ones, we've been okay keeping them in the freezer, and that just seems to, or fridge, and that just seems to really work for our family. But I would certainly ask the providers to make sure based on the proteins that you need.
Another question is, I read flaxseed and chia seeds should be refrigerated for longer shelf life. It is my understanding they are not as effective if they are not refrigerated, but other seeds I do not refrigerate. I did not, we did not have flaxseed or chia seeds in her program. Did you have either of those, Serena?
Yeah, both. I feel like for both of them, we keep them in the fridge, but we have actually had like a bag that we have kept out too. So I feel like it's went both ways for us. And to feel certain on this, I would ask the provider.
Another question is, did anyone have to do wheat as maintenance? My son does not have wheat or gluten intolerance, but wondering why wheat is in maintenance. So we did not have wheat in maintenance. That might be a perfect question to send through Tip Connect to ask if you have questions on why you're doing that. I do know that there was other foods that came back for us that I also questioned, why are they doing this? Again, I think it goes back to the whole trusting the program. They wouldn't be having you do wheat as maintenance if there wasn't a reason why. You definitely can ask, what is that reason? Because for me, I'm just a curious person and I want to know. And I did ask those questions when I was at the visits, saying, like, for instance, peanut for my daughter, she never has had any restrictions on peanut, but it came back in her sensitive column. And so that was a really big conversation that I had with the providers when we went there for her onboarding visit, to kind of clarify why peanut was in maintenance and why we had to challenge it and all those kinds of things. So that's definitely a great question for the provider.
Agree. I'm not sure if Serena, you went through the same thing, but the way I understand it is sometimes they're done so that they could prep your system for stuff that you may be more allergic to as well. So that could also be the reason why.
Yes. A lot of times the food is related to an allergen. For example, my daughter is allergic to peanuts, but not chickpeas. Chickpeas have a protein similar. Yes. So I think that she's also alluding to what we were just talking about. So that's perfect. And that is stuff that, you can even see in your chart. They have like the line around the foods that have similar proteins. So sometimes you will start with a food that is a similar protein to what she's anaphylactic to, but that food your child is able to tolerate. So the wheat might just be prepping you for something else. Someone asked what the scenario kit is. Somebody else answered that. Steve, did you have any other questions about the scenario kit? If you want to ask, if not, that's fine too.
I think you wanted to ask some more and then
Yeah, I just came off mute. No, that's fine. I'll read that. Thank you.
Okay, no problems. Can anyone speak to how SLIT has impacted the treatment of food allergies for your kiddo? Did you see allergen numbers and or reactivity coming down for both? So my child was on SLIT. She is still on SLIT. So I can start and then we can ask Serena what her experience is. So my daughter did allergy shots. Years before she started TIP, she was still at the end of her maintenance. They say 3 to 5 years of allergy shots after you hit maintenance for that. We did that with a local allergist because her environmental allergies were so bad and it exacerbated asthma for her. And so when we did the allergy shots, we didn't think that we were going to have to do SLIT, but her numbers came back with the first testings that we did in California, and she did needed to do SLIT. So I know that other people in the program do notice a difference in their environmental allergens with SLIT. We did not honestly notice any difference, but my daughter also had allergy shots for 5 years. Well, actually over 5 years, because it's 1 year of buildup and then 3 to 5 years of maintenance dose. And she was almost at her 5th year when we started TIP. So she had allergy shots for about 6 years before we started her SLIT. So she did not have it. And I did ask the clinic why she needed to do SLIT since we already did all the allergy shots. And I was told that things came back in her blood work that the SLIT would help. I don't want to say prep her for some of the food allergens, but that there were things in it that would help her with the food challenges that we would be doing. So I didn't notice anything different, but I trusted that that's why they had her add SLIT to her program. Serena, does your daughter do SLIT?
She tried it, and unfortunately, we will have to revisit it later in the program. And so I guess it's also, there's one positive to that. It's that the process is working, right? Her body is still tolerating to the point that we need it to. She is extremely allergic to dogs and cats. And so we are hopeful that one day SLIT will help or we will do allergy shots. But her body just wasn't able to handle it at that time. So we'll do lab work and revisit it. And once her body is ready, we will try it again. But I think, again, hers are more environmental and they don't feel that it may necessarily impact the food as much, that it might not be a huge concern for us. So not sure I can answer this one to the best.
Great.
Okay,
And then Steve asked, "What is SLIT?" SLIT is
Sure.
it's a program for people with not food allergies, environmental allergies.
It stands for sublingual immunotherapy. So it's they come in these sprays that you get directly from the clinic, and you spray it underneath your tongue. They have to hold it there for 2 minutes, then you swallow it, then they can't eat or drink for 10 minutes. You do it in the morning. Not everybody has SLIT in their program. It's just what comes back with your blood work and all the testing that you do. So some people will have SLIT added to their program and some will not. And obviously there's a little more details around SLIT than what I just mentioned, but overall, that's what it is.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Good question. There's a couple. What are the most common reactions during the program? How often does anaphylaxis happen during the program? I'm pretty sure that the clinic on their website, they have numbers for reactions on the website. At least I know they used to. My daughter, I can only speak from my experience. My daughter only had one minor reaction that was way in the beginning of the program. She had a stomach ache one time after her dose. I called the clinic. I talked with the provider within 1 minute, and they helped talk me through that scenario kit. Yes, I have all that information, but when it's actually happening, I wasn't sure what we should do. And I called the clinic, and although I'm in Wisconsin, they're in California, I felt very supported, and I was able to talk with the provider, and they talked me through what I should give my daughter. And then they even said to me, "I'm going to call you back in 30 minutes and check and see how she's doing." And of course I thought, okay, sure. And they did. They called me back in 30 minutes. By then her stomach ache had subsided. And then we talked about what I was going to do differently the next day, and kind of we could talk through maybe how to, like, what happened. And for us, what we kind of found was that she ate her dose on an empty stomach. She hadn't eaten in hours. And so we learned for her that she needed to have some kind of food in her stomach before we did her treatment food. So lesson learned for her. And at the end of the day, we kind of thought that it was really a good thing. Like it really showed us that it was just a stomach ache. She didn't have anaphylaxis. She didn't have hives head to toe like she did before. Her face didn't swell up. She just had a stomach ache. So we did feel once we kind of got through that we learned a lot from that small reaction. And that's the only hiccup she had at all throughout her whole time in treatment or in remission. I don't know if you can speak to anything of that, Serena.
We have not had any issues with anaphylaxis since starting the program, so that is a huge win and accomplishment I'm really excited about. But we did have a few, like I said, we had reactions to slit that we had to call in for. But the same experience as Beth, we were connected to a provider literally instantly. There was no issues getting on the phone with somebody. And I was really surprised with the follow-up after as well. Like we documented so much in email with pictures and follow-up and making sure that she wasn't a healed space where she should do maintenance and treatment again. And they followed up the next day and I think even 2 days after, things like that. So I was really happy to see that support. And even in that case, it was an extra dose of her medication, her antihistamine. It was not an EpiPen that we needed. It was really, really mild in terms of what we were previously dealing with being outside of the program.
Thank you. I love that there's like conversations going on in the chat. I think that's so great. And that's one of our goals for this is that it is kind of a conversation. So I think that's really great. I see that ISA2 answered one of the questions about the maintenance foods only found in the US. So I'm going to kind of skip through some of these. We are getting to the end of our time here. Are there any concerns with treatment regarding other medications, birth control, etc.? So I can only speak to my experience, and my daughter did do some medications while she was in the program, even vaccines and all that kind of stuff. And every time we would just talk with the provider and say, hey, I'm thinking she needs to get this vaccine coming up. What should I do? And they will talk you through if that means a change of treatment food, if you have to like hold your treatment food for a day and then like they'll talk you through how to do that. And that is a perfect way to use Tip Connect is to email them to say, hey, this is coming up for my child. She needs to go on this medication, whether it's birth control or any other medication or a vaccine or, if she's on antibiotics or any of that kind of stuff. That's exactly what Tip Connect is for, to help talk you through. And they will really talk you through every single thing that you need to do in order to have that happen. So
I think there's one for Serena regarding your experience with slit. Like, was she experiencing a reaction? Just asking because we also have a high dog allergy, or was it just more so because of your experience with Tip that they actually told you in the blood work that they told you to push it off until later?
Okay. Before starting the program, our daughter would react to dogs regardless. So it was something we've always stayed away from. And like I said, she just can't be around them. It's dander and saliva, and she reacts very strongly, and to cats as well. So for us, I'm going to shut my door. They just got home from swim. So, but for us, it was when we did the under the spray that morning, she had reacted pretty instantly. And so we we called in right away, and it was from then on to just not do slit. We tried a lower dosage than like I said before, she did not go anaphylactic or anaphylaxis to that. It was that she had hives and presented some itchiness that once we gave her the medication, it went down, and then we lowered the dose and tried that, and it was still too high. So it was, I don't know that it was necessarily the foods. It was just maybe that the dose of slit didn't work for her, and we'll have to revisit it in the future. It's more important that she gets through the life-threatening allergens that she's exposed to eating for us right now, that we're okay with delaying slit until later on. We can continue to avoid dogs and cats as much as possible. I hope that helps.
So there's one more question that we're going to do. It says, as for slit, did you have to keep up when it needs refilled? Or do they automatically send it every 3 months? So I just did this past week for my daughter. So they send you an email saying your slit is ready to be filled, and they will not fill it until you respond to the email with certain information. You have to send your address, your the child's name, the date of birth. You follow the instructions exactly in the email. You send it back. You reply to that email, send the information to them, and then you will get an email confirmation when the slit has been shipped. So I've never had a problem with the slit ever since we started. And actually, she started slit before our second appointment. So, we've never had a problem. They contact us every time that it needs to be updated. And then once we get those in the mail, then we make sure that everything works. We make sure there wasn't any leakage. We make sure that the new pumps are working, and then we throw the other ones away. And this is the first time that I'm having it shipped to her at school. So we will see how this goes, but always a learning curve. So yes, hope that was helpful.
Sorry, Beth, I forgot or missed that very first part. You said they automatically refill it for you? Okay.
So they will let you know when it's time to do it, but they won't automatically send it. You have to respond to the email
Yep.
that they'll send to you, and
Right. Yeah.
then they'll automatically.
Verifying. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Great. I think that is all the questions we have for today.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And thank you, Serena and Beth, for answering their questions. And thanks, everyone, for getting involved and answering questions in the chat, too. That was pretty nice to see.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I missed the presentation because I just logged in. I wonder if you have the recording.
We have the recording. We are trying to put all the recordings out, so I will probably send a mass email once they're up and good to go for everyone to watch. In the meantime, after every office hour, I do send the slides so that you'll be able to look at those. And
Yeah.
I'll also pair you up with our volunteer, Rebecca. She's out in Canada.
Okay. So yeah, I forgot actually. So this program is about to manage food allergic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually I'm allergic to milk actually. So I wonder, is that count also, or
Sorry, you're allergic
I'm
to milk? Is that?
I'm allergic to milk, yeah.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
think
so
if it is like a clinic related question, we would have to send it over to clinics. I don't want to give like the wrong answer for your allergies.
okay. Yeah.
So I'll send that over. If you're allergic to milk and you want to be paired with the volunteer
Okay.
who does have experience with that, I do also have someone I can pair you with.
Okay. So I wonder how can is this the clinic in the area?
The clinic is in Long Beach.
Oh, in Los Angeles, I see. Okay, so do you have like can I make an appointment through Zoom?
It won't be through Zoom. You would have to go, sorry, you have to go to our enrollment team, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
Okay.
I can send you their information in my email to you.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
That way you'll have access to that.
Sure, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good day.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Bye.